So let's now build this application together and let's solve this exercise together. By the way, if you were not able to do this on your own, that's no problem. We're just getting started. It's the second application you're building. It's totally normal if you're not able to complete it on your own yet. You'll get more practice throughout the rest of this course and you'll get plenty of useful knowledge out of this section. Let's simply build it together now. And I want to start with that first task here. I want to add that header component to my application. And therefore, in the app folder, we can add a new header folder where we can add those component files. Or alternatively, we don't do that. And instead, in a new terminal window, we use the Angular CLI to add that header component. With the ng-gc command to generate a new component. And I'll name that component header, and I'll add the --skip-tests flag so that this extra testing file isn't generated, because I don't need that. With that, I got my header folder here with the header component files, and it automatically created a standalone component for me here. And I'll start by using standalone components, but later at the end of this section, I'll migrate it all to module-based components so that you also see how you could use modules instead of standalone components. Now, I will actually not change anything in that header TS file though. Instead, I'll jump to the header component HTML file because it's in there where I now want to add the header element. Like this. And then in there, I want to have an H1 element where I say investment calculator. And above that, I want to have an image like this. And here for this source, it's now important to recognize that the image is actually now in the public folder. It's this investment calculator logo PNG file. And you can actually just add it like this and add the extension without adding public / at the beginning, and also not by adding assets / at the beginning, because it isn't in an assets folder, and whilst it is in a public folder, this folder and the files inside of it are actually loaded slightly differently so that you can and should omit the public path here and just directly reference the files and folders inside of the public folder. So in this case, the image that's stored inside of the public folder. And then we should also add some alt text here like money back, because that's in the end what's visible on this image. So that's the markup. We also need some styling, and that's why I attached some component style files earlier in this section. But attached, you again find the header component.css file, and you can simply replace your header component CSS file with the attached one. Well, and with that, we got the markup, we got the styles, and we don't need any special TypeScript logic. And we can therefore go back to the app component HTML file. And in there, you can now replace this H1 element with app-header. And you can add that as a self-closing tag like this. Though, as you see, this will give us an error that it's not a known element, because by default, as you learned, Angular doesn't scan your project for possible components. So in order to make Angular aware of a component here, you have to add it to this imports array in the app component TypeScript file. So here I'll add this imports array in my app component selector, and I will import the header component from ./header/header.component, and then also add it here to imports. Alternatively, if I remove that, we could of course also have used our IDE support, and we could have chosen that quick fix here, which Visual Studio Code suggested to me. This also adds this import and adds it here to this imports array. And with that, if you go back to localhost 4200, you should now see your header here on the screen, the title and the image. And that's the first step completed already, though of course arguably the remaining steps will take up more time.